Most people don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them. I'm not talking about your mom or your spouse, or your best friend or your dog. I'm talking about the fact that your customers, fans, and your social media followers really don't care about you or your organization. They care far less about your brand than they care about the benefits that your brand offerings provide them. Not only what your brand can do for them, but what your brand has done for them lately. Now, this is true for even those brands that have super loyal customers and fan bases. Even those audiences care more about what the brand offers than what the brand is. I've used two examples, that we might think are great examples of customers and audience members really caring. We've all heard stories about the local diner being saved by the neighborhood. And yes, the neighbors really do like the owners and they like the people who work there. But when it really comes down to it, a lot of those neighbors are working to save the diner because they still want a place to go for brunch on Saturday, or they still want that convenient, inexpensive lunch option during the week. Or maybe even more so, they don't want an empty storefront on their main street. That could mean the neighborhood's going down, and that could mean their property values are going to go down with it. So those people have reasons to care about what that diner does for them. And let's think about sports teams or athletes. These are some of the most avid and loyal fans you can think of, right? But what happens when a player decides to change teams? What happens if there's some sort of off-the-field controversy? What happens if the team starts losing? The size of the loyal fan base, even the most loyal fan bases, it will shrink, and sometimes quite quickly and quite dramatically. If most people don't really care about their local diner that they eat at all the time, or the star athlete whose jersey they wear, why can we think that they're going to care about your law firm or your software company or your furniture store or even your very worthy nonprofit? There's no such saying as ask not what your favorite brand can do for you, ask what you can do for your favorite brand. It's pretty much always the customer saying, what can the brand do for me? Okay, now I've probably got you all feeling a little bit deflated. What's the point of this video? It's to remind you of a couple of things. One, your marketing needs to focus on the benefits you provide your audience members. Two, your stories, even when they seem like stories that are about you, you need to make sure that they are relevant to and provide value to your customers and fans. And three, you need to try your best to move people closer and closer to actually caring about your brand. Because when that happens, you'll start benefiting from true brand loyalty. Let's talk about brand loyalty for a second. Brand loyalty is more than just repeat customers, and it's something different than brand laziness, which is what most brands have. And we can talk about the difference between brand laziness and brand loyalty in a different video. How can we cause people to care about your brand, be loyal to your brand, make them personally and passionately care about you? It can be done, but it's not particularly easy. I'm going to give you 3 examples of how some brands have done it. First of all, you prove or convince your fan base that nothing else compares. This can be done if you're an industry leader like Coca-Cola. Loyal fans aren't switching from Coke to another soda. They might very well switch to water or some other healthier alternative, but they're not switching to Pepsi or RC Cola and vice versa. No Pepsi drinker is going to suddenly start drinking Coke. That's the way an industry leader might do it. A contender brand. Let's think about, it's still true today and just as true as it was 30 years ago, Mac users. They're convinced that Apple makes a better product. They're going to buy them no matter what, no matter how much more expensive they are, because they believe, maybe rightfully so, that Macs are better. There's a second way. Prove or convince your audience that you care about them. And this is more than just caring about the quality of your product and service, but that is where it starts. It's caring about the audience members personally and maybe even individually. It's personal attention, going above and beyond, showing up when your customers need you most. Let's think about a couple different ways that can happen, because it's going to be different for every brand and for every customer, really. Think about that. Let's go back to the local restaurant idea we were talking about earlier. What happens when that local restaurant makes a surprise delivery to you when you're laid up after a surgery or an injury? Your loyalty and caring just went through the roof. What happens, so it could be a B2B or a consumer example, when they send out a technician to solve a problem on a Friday night, or they overnight you a part that's needed for something that's defective. Standing behind your product or your service. Sometimes making good when something went bad is a great way to increase loyalty and increase their caring for you because they believe you care for them. It's sometimes if you provide a service, it's doing that service, whether you're an ad agency or a law firm or you're a mechanic or you're a plumber. It's doing your service at a significantly reduced price or maybe even for free when you know the person really needs it and can't afford the regular cost. And sometimes it's a little more indirect. It can be a company or a brand making a big donation to a nonprofit arts organization that's really important to a subset of customers, or maybe just a single customer. All of those things increase brand loyalty because the customer believes you care about them, or at least care about something that's important to them. But what that really comes down to, that second tip, is be a caring person and make sure that your brand acts in that same caring way. There's a third way, and this is a way that I spend a lot of time thinking about because it fascinates me the way that it happens. And I think making this happen is a great way to accomplish just an absurd level of brand loyalty. And that's making your brand a part of their brand, or enabling customers to make your brand a part of their brand. Easier to think of on the consumer side than the B2B normally, but let's talk about a couple of B2B examples real quick. It can be with a single person, like an IT guy who consistently goes to some contender product because it never lets them down. That contender product becomes a part of that IT person's personal brand and identity. It can be a company that reliably offers your product, includes your brand in their marketing, using your brand as a differentiator for their brand. And maybe this is because they're one of the few places that offers your product. It's maybe they offer exclusively your product. However that works. You guys borrow off of each other's brand equity, and that makes you very important to their brand. But let's think about it on the consumer side for some more common examples. Think about drinks. There are people that drink only whatever you want to think of, Knob Creek or Maker's Mark or some sort of bourbon that has a certain approachable masculine sophistication. Or they consistently drink Corona because it exudes the carefree personality they want people to associate with them. They're drinking these things. A, yeah, they probably like them, but B, they like what those drinks say about them. There's also sports teams. I know we were talking about sports teams earlier and the fact that, yes, fans can be fickle and fans can be a little bit of what have you done for me lately. But let's think about certain fans. Yes, there's buying t-shirts and wearing ball caps and buying coats, but there's another level of obsession, of caring that comes when someone has a tattoo of their sports team or a custom license plate of their favorite sports team. How do they accomplish that? We can look at sports teams and what can we borrow in our own brands? But I think the best example of this is timeless fashion staples. This can also happen with trendy fashion items that can quickly allow you to categorize someone into a certain group, whether that's, wealthy suburban moms, whether that's college potheads, whether that's successful urban hip hoppers, whatever that group is, where a certain fashion, trendy fashion, can help us self-identify into that group. Now, that's a little dangerous to get caught up in something super popular and super trendy, because it will peak really fast and it'll burn really fast. What I really want to talk about are the classic timeless icons of fashion. There's high-end stuff like Louis Vuitton or Coach, or on the jewelry side, Tiffany's. But then there's more of those everyman brands like Converse Chuck Taylors or Vans or Carhartt or Levi's or Wrangler or some similar brand outside of fashion would be like Jeep. You know, what do Tiffany's and Jeep have in common? It's people consider these brands to be a part of their own personal brands. That guy's a Jeep guy, that lady's a Tiffany lady, or that lady's a Jeep lady. However you want to look at these things. They're a rugged Jeep person, they're a Woodford Reserve person, they're a Chuck Taylor anti-establishment person. So yeah, these are some of the most loyal customers you can possibly ever earn, but they are loyal because of the brand equity that they borrow from you. So it's still, they're getting something from your brand, but in those cases, they're getting your equity and they're borrowing from your existing brand personality. So what's the point of this 10-minute video here? 1, your marketing needs to focus on customer needs. 2, your products and services need to be consistently good. 3, your organization needs to act like the caring people it's made up of. And 4, you need to create a strong, unique brand position that offers people the potential to use your brand to help define their own personal brand. Thanks.